The island of Manhattan is only about 23 square miles of mostly concrete jungle. But what the city lacks in land, it makes up for with lots of tall buildings. And with lots of empty rooftop space, it makes perfect sense to cover it all with green. Here at the Solaire, the green roof was planned as the building was being designed. But an already existing roof can be made green by adding movable units of vegetation. An example of this is at Silver Cup Studios in Queens.
If you look down, there are 3 studios that are covered. This is the largest green roof in New York City. It's 35,000 square feet altogether. This neighborhood, which is now home to 2 monitored green roofs, is interesting because it's an industrial neighborhood, has very little green space, and it has a lot of buildings with large footprints that are not extremely high. This kind of green roof can survive with no maintenance. These roofs should last 30, 40, or even 50 years with virtually no maintenance. The purpose of this research station is to quantify the value of the benefits of green roofs.
One big thing that we measure is stormwater runoff, which is looking at how having plants on the ground controls the amount of water that flows through it. And the other thing is temperature. We're collecting data from the little grids that have vegetation and also from grids that don't. We ideally would like to compare the information that we get and then see how the green roofs are helping.
What you have here is thermal experiments, and we're measuring temperature underneath these modules as well as at the surface of the growing medium and 6 inches above the growing medium itself to actually measure the impact of the green roof in creating a microclimate.
The research.
So instead of water running as fast as it can to a sewage treatment facility, which then starts to back up, overflow, and gets released through a manifold with diluted, untreated sewage into our waterways, what a green roof does is it'll absorb the rainwater. Meanwhile, the plants, these sedum, tend to puff out and absorb stormwater when they have it. But a green roof of this kind of system, 4 inches of growing medium, could be expected to capture between, probably 1 inch to 1.25 inches of rainfall.
Unlike the rooftop at Silver Cup Studios, which is purely functional, the roof here at the Solaire is also designed to be beautiful. Greg at Earth Pledge shows us how it's constructed.
Green roof is a normal roof plus more. And because these materials weigh quite a bit once they get fully saturated with water, you have to make sure your roof can hold it. As we're looking at this structure right here, so we take off the plants, we remove the growing medium, we take out the filter, which again was to stop the growing medium from going through here, and then we get to this layer right here. Think of really as egg cartons, and they really do hold water in here.
What a green roof does is, instead of having your typical midday, midsummer temperature of 185 degrees, a green roof will typically hover around 85 degrees or 90 degrees, which of course is a great way to cool down our cities without changing land use patterns.
Sauter Johnston, I'm Commissioner with the City of Chicago's Department of Environment, and we're on the green roof of City Hall, 20,000 square feet of prairie, 12 stories above street level in downtown Chicago.
Green rooftops like this can be as much as 60 degrees cooler than conventional black tar rooftops. These air conditioning intakes for City Hall are located directly over the green roof.
And that makes it easier to air condition inside, which of course, air conditioning generates heat. So that's less heat that we generate when we're putting a green roof on. Brings our air conditioning costs down and keeps the ambient environment cooler.
The Prairie Garden has saved City Hall $6,000 a year in energy costs, eliminating the need for power plants to produce 45 tons of CO2 emissions. It also helps reduce the amount of stormwater that floods into Chicago's overtaxed sewer system.
This green roof, we've got between 2 to 4 inches of soil, and it's a super light soil. It's 80% inorganic, so it absorbs that rainwater and actually holds it for about a 48-hour period, during which time the plants can use it or it can evaporate, so less of it gets into the storm sewer system.
Most black tar roofs need to be replaced every 20 years. But Chicago City Hall's green roof may not have to be replaced for 50 years or more, because the layers of soil and vegetation protect the roof membrane from harmful ultraviolet rays.
There's hundreds of thousands of people that look down on this every day, and people have actually moved their offices to buildings that overlook this green roof because they enjoy the beauty. So it does have a quality of life impact as well as an economic impact.
Though the initial investment is high, a movement is underway in Chicago to encourage the greening of rooftops across the city. The results could ultimately save millions of dollars and play an important role in reducing global warming.
Imagine flying over the city, being a bird and flying over, and looking down and seeing prairies instead of black rooftops that are cooling the city and capturing stormwater, really bringing the city to its ecological function, which is a beautiful prairie city.
In this vision of the future, the rooftops may be green, but reducing the carbon footprint of air conditioning systems will still be one of the biggest challenges for the environment.
Most buildings, they actually create more heat within their operations. An office building, for instance, is a heat generator. It's in part the equipment in the buildings, it's the lighting, and actually it's the people. People are a tremendous heat load upon our buildings.
Just the dragonflies, the butterflies, all the wildlife, they've all found their own way up here. I mean, it's incredible. That's a birdhouse. Yeah, we got a bunch of them scattered around here. We do get birds living up here. What you see behind me is a flowing, beautiful prairie, and you'd imagine you were in the middle of a prairie, but we're actually here in the middle of the city. And the beehives you see behind me, we now have them on multiple buildings. We're growing strawberries in one of our buildings. We're trying new ways to really green our own infrastructure as a city. So all across the country there's been a crisis in the bee population, and people are really wondering what's happening. And I'm really glad to say, as you can see here from this beehive, the bees here in Chicago are actually doing really well. Partly as a result of this, there's a new nonprofit, which is a bee co-op, and they actually take ex-offenders and train them in beekeeping, and they make honey. And so who would have thought bees are economic development in the city of Chicago? So really, the green initiative of Mayor Daley is about improving the quality of life here in Chicago for Chicagoans.